Ooh, that looks tasty.
Welcome, folks. The Hungry Gamer is back with another list. And before I go on, please do excuse the banging. There's construction going on. It will be for the next few weeks, but nothing I can do about it. I will try to take as much out as I can when I edit this video together. My list today is 8 games that you can still either late pledge for or pre-order that I just think are worth taking a look at. For various reasons, I'll talk just a few sentences about each one. In the description, you will find links to where you can late pledge or pre-order for all of them, and possibly also links to reviews or content that I've made about them. I will say that this is a top 8 list, but it's not in any particular order. So it's really just 8 games that I think are worth checking out before you miss your chance. So the first one, Heroes of Tenis, and they have about 2 weeks left on their late pledge. And this is a game that I really am enjoying. It kind of makes me think of One Deck Dungeon in that way that you're kind of going through these dungeons and you're finding random monsters, and as you beat them you get stronger, but it's to push your luck mechanic rather than dice. And my big issue with the game was there wasn't enough variety, and that's what the expansion does, add a lot more variety. So number 8, Heroes of Tenis. So number 7 for me is Arena Contest, Tenaris Adventures. My favorite part about Arena was the campaign, the way it worked. I was less interested in the game as a skirmish game, more interested in how it worked as a campaign story adventure, because it was light, it was relatively quick, and overall I just really enjoyed it. And the new Kickstarter is going to add 40-50 hours of pure campaign and address one of the things that a lot of people had an issue with was the leveling system. It will get a little bit more complex. So number 7, Tenaris Adventures. My number 6 is Omicron Protocol, and I've talked about this one a lot. This is a fun game. It is mostly a skirmish game, one-on-one, though you can have teams of 2-on-2 or whatever it may be. This game plays quick, and what I most like about it is the deep story that it has and the way the dice and attacking mechanics work. It's not just roll your dice and hit, just roll your dice, get your successes, use those successes to buy damage or buy abilities from this shop that you have. And again, I'm very sorry about the incredible noise coming behind me. So my number 6 is Omicron Protocol. My number 5 is Guards of Atlantis 2. Now this one, the late pledge might not be open yet, but it is coming. And this is another skirmish game. So this one plays up to, I think up to 10 players maybe? Up to a lot. And it is a no-luck skirmish game where everything is pure strategy. It's a bit of a longer game, it's a bit of a crunchier game in my opinion than an Omicron Protocol is. And it doesn't have a deep story, but the gameplay itself is really on point, and it really does a good job of bringing the vibe of MOBA games to life in this skirmish game. So number 5, Guards of Atlantis 2. My number 4 is another one I don't have a copy of anymore. That is Starlight. Starlight initially caught my attention because it billed itself as a Gloomhaven in space, in the sense that it was a long campaign, you're developing characters, and it's a long story. But what it added to that were planetary exploration and space exploration, and instead of cards, it used a dice mechanic. And overall, I really enjoyed it. There's going to be a lot to this game, but it is going to offer a lot as well. I'm very excited about Starlight. My number 3 on the list is one I've talked about a lot, and that is Merchant's Cove. Merchant's Cove from Final Frontier Games is it's a lot of things. It's an asymmetric Euro game, a lot of worker placement elements, but the exciting thing about it for me is each different player has a completely asymmetric character. So you're playing your own mini game as you're playing the game as a whole. It has a well fleshed out solo mode with some scenarios that you can play to even add more juice to it. I'm very, very excited about this one. So my number 3 is Merchant's Cove. Next we come to my number 2. My number 2 is The Ghosts Betwixt. This is a dungeon crawl that on its surface you would think that it is a lighter game. It's kind of this family story, this family going out becoming heroes and saving the rest of their family from horrible, terrible things. But here's the catch, is this is actually a bit of a crunchier dungeon crawl. You're making dice pools, and you're making dice pools for yourself and dice pools for the enemy, and they're different color dice, they do different things, there's some tactical combat, and facing matters, and so it's a crunchier game, but it has a good story, the art is very cool, and I'm excited to know what happens with this one. So, number 2 on this list is The Ghosts Betwixt. And then finally, my number 1 is Rival Restaurants. Rival Restaurants is expansion and reprint, recently funded very well on Kickstarter. You can still get a hold of it. This is a game that has a lot of negotiation. You're doing a lot of trading. You're doing your best to outthink your opponents as you're trying to make your restaurant the most popular, the fastest. And there's just a whole lot of really interesting things going on. And this game really shines with more players. There's not a lot of games that I really look forward to playing with 4 or more players. Very good job of implementing a timer that really keeps the game moving. So, top of my list today is Rival Restaurants. So you can again find all 8 of those games, links to how you can get a hold of them, and links to some of the content I've created down in the description. It's all there. And again, I don't love any of these games more than any other, but they are all ones that I think, depending on what your preferences are, you should definitely check out. There's pretty much something for everybody in that list. So, again, I do apologize for the banging and the noise. That's a great example of just happened right there. I'm going to try to edit out as much as I can. But thank you all so very much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.